All right, cheers everyone. This is Amy Mitchell with Houses of Windsor, and you're watching Virtual Tea Time with Amy and special guest. And today, my special guest is the amazing Jim Roman. Thank you for coming. Well, yeah, for coming onto the show, Jim.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, so first things first. What are you drinking, and where are you calling from?
I am drinking Earl Grey tea from
Mm.
Sal's to South. How do you say that? Taos?
I don't. I can't read it. Is it TAOS?
T-A-Z-O.
Oh,
Earl
I
Grey.
just call it Tazo or whatever.
Tazo. That's right. Tazo. Earl Grey. And right outside of Orlando, area called Forest City, Florida.
Okay, cool. And I am calling from Altamont Springs, which is outside of Orlando for all the people who don't know, Central Florida. Um, and I am drinking out of a nice tall mug today that actually my sister in law gave me. It says I'd rather be in bed, but it's like my favorite color. And I am actually drinking. I have a newer friend who has been on this show. Her name is Nancy Rodriguez, and she is a new tea lady, basically, or I should say, new tea business lady. So she is basically another Anglophile tea lady like myself, and she lives in Virginia, and we have connected, and so she's starting up her business called Cup and Crown, and she wanted to send me some of her favorite teas that she has. So this one is called Figgy Pudding, and it's very British.
Now, do you know which part
And
of Virginia she's in?
good question. Nope. She's definitely told me, and I have it recorded on here. um, I want to say like out like kind of by the DC area. I'm
Yep.
gonna guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. So anyway, so now I've got like cool tea friends that like swap teas to try them out.
Nice.
So that is yeah what I'm drinking. And so Jim, to tell people how I know you, basically, so I've had other people from BNI on before, and I talk about BNI a lot. I say I'm like thoroughly into it. And so I was so yeah. So Jim, I've known you. Well, how long have you been in our chapter now? Has it been like a year?
This chapter 1 year at the end of the month.
Okay, all right. So I've known you for like a year then.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're an awesome. I don't know. I love your energy. You're always fun to
Thank you.
talk to. And when we used to see, our group in person, it was always nice to see you each Wednesday morning. So, but why don't you tell everyone what you do? Like, what are you doing in BNI?
Sure. So I'm a national speaker and business coach specializing in helping small companies become big companies
Mm-hmm.
with an emphasis of giving owners a life. My dad passed away of a heart attack at 62. We owned a restaurant. When he died, the restaurant died. And I find that people are dying in the business every day. So our coaches and consultants help people figure out how to run a better business so they can have
Mm-hmm.
a better life.
Right, and that sounds amazing. I mean, like, definitely needed. I feel like I've heard a lot of stories from people where they're just drowning in their business and they feel like they can't, hand any bit, like delegate anything to anyone else. Like they don't trust it. They claim they're perfectionists. And like, what do you and like roughly what do you do for people when they claim like that they are perfectionists and they can't trust others to help them with their business? What are you guys what's your tactic?
A couple of them. First off, I ask them what is their ultimate goal. I think so oftentimes the way you describe the person, they're so worried about today. And so I'll ask somebody, do you want to be bigger? Do you want to be able to reach more people and
Right.
make a bigger difference? And in most cases, they do. And I said, so do you think being by yourself, being a control freak, or having to have your hands in everything are going to allow you to
Mm-hmm.
do that? I'm like, no. So I'm starting to break down that mental barrier that they've built up for good reasons, because
Right.
people like that really want the best for their clients.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second part I've learned from other mentors where it's like, do you think you're the only person in the world who can do what you do? You're the
Mm-hmm.
only person in the world who can do it perfect. They were like, no. I said, okay, how about if we created a framework or a process that you could let go some of it,
Mm-hmm.
that you can feel that the person's being taken care of, and they go, okay, I'll they're open to it, and then you slowly let go, because again, the good thing is that they are passionate about making a big difference. I know I used to be a control freak because I just wanted the best for my customers, clients. And when I realized that I'm not the only person who can do it, there's actually people better at certain things than me.
Right.
I just needed a way to let go. And so helping them to do that physically and mentally, I think makes the biggest difference.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. And I know you guys you work with like, when people have staff, right? If like the staff is kind of struggling, like you guys kind of work with that too, right? To help
Yeah, I believe
them
everyone should
do
have an
better.
assistant. Everyone
Okay.
should have an assistant, no matter how big of a company you are, smaller company you are.
Mm-hmm.
That's my, if you ever go to my presentations, George Carlin would say that a lot in his stand-up comedy. He'd say, you want to become a CEO of a company, get yourself an assistant, get your
Mm-hmm.
assistant an assistant, and your assistant's assistant. Eventually,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
CEO of a bunch of assistants. And I thought it was funny at first, but now fast forward, I'm like going, oh, I get why we should all have an assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And then those who already have people, it's just getting them to perform by putting them in the right position, getting the passion for that profession,
Right.
and so organizing the business better so that they can serve more people.
Right. Right. Okay. And that's like, tied into the BNI stuff, what, which I know BNI way better than I do. but when I've like listened to the podcast with Dr. Ivan Meisner, and he's always talking about what is it, working in your flame, like not in your wax, and like
Yes,
finding people to help you. So it's like, if all the back office, like accounting, whatever, that's not your specialty, that's not what the company is about. Like you've got, in the beginning you have to do it, but like once you can, like, you got to start bringing people in to help you do the thing so you can do what you do best, which is like the specialty thing of the company, right?
exactly. Well, my
Right.
first thing I let go was my bookkeeping. I always would joke, it'd take me 3 months to do my taxes.
Uh-huh.
2.5 months worrying about it, and then actually 2 weeks doing it. And I met a bookkeeper in one of my seminars, and she loved going through receipts and stuff like that. So one day I
Oh my
sat
god.
down with her, interviewed her. She goes, I love when someone gives me a bag of receipts. I get to sort them. I'm like, are you crazy? She's like,
Yeah.
no, I love it. It's like a puzzle.
Oh
I
my
love
gosh.
puzzles.
That's
And so I
crazy.
gave her over my bookkeeping. It took her literally 2 weeks to do it all, where it took me 2.5 months of worrying about it and actually
Right.
2 weeks of trying to do it.
Right.
And I got to say, it was the best investment. To this day, I don't do my own bookkeeping. I have people do that. And I was like,
Yeah.
why did I do it myself all this time? It was painful.
Right.
I was saving myself money. Actually, I was costing myself, life and
Right. Right.
happiness.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I have, you're talking about, she loves the bag of receipts to sort through. So my Aunt Kathy, she's worked at different like tax places, I think like H&R Block and stuff, after like she's a retired school teacher, and she always talked about how she loved that when people would bring in like a pile of receipts and it's just a mess. That sounds horrible. I don't want to do that at all. But there's some people that like that.
Exactly.
And they
Like I
need it.
was in shock too, but when she's like gets all giddy,
Yeah.
in fact, it was funny. I gave her this box of receipts, and she's talking to one of my colleagues who was interviewing her. And then while they were talking, I was like, "Well, let me just sort it." And she's like, "Don't do that." I'm like, "Okay, sorry. Let me give it back to you."
Oh, that's
So it's just fun.
that's hilarious. She's like, don't even start.
They're
She
like, "Don't even
wants.
go there." I'm like, "Okay, you hands off."
That's hilarious. So that is yeah, so that's a little bit about what you do, which we care, but we care more today about what is your obsession or special interest or hobby? What's your thing?
Wine and cheese.
Wine and cheese. Okay. So tell me more about that. Like when did it become a thing for you? How long has it been a thing?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. I'm gonna guess, I don't know, 15 years, maybe 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So I was raised in the restaurant business, like I mentioned with my dad,
Right.
and he passed, went into the Air Force, got out, started running restaurants in Virginia, originally from Pennsylvania. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I was asking where your friend was from Virginia.
Oh, right.
So I'm running this restaurant, and I read an article that one glass of wine a day is good for you. So I would
Mm-hmm.
go to the gun, and I would squirt some Burgundy, and I would drink it. I'm going, this is horrible, knowing nothing about wine. Squirt it, I'm like, they say it's good for you, it's horrible. Well, one day, one of the customers did not finish their bottle of wine. It was a Louis Jadot wine, red wine. I was like, huh. So I was like, should I try it? And I've never had real good wine
Mm-hmm.
ever at that time. And so I was like, No one's looking. Louis Jadot. I don't know what Louis Jadot is. I couldn't even say
Yeah.
that back then. So I pour a little glass, and I'm like going, "Oh, this is good." I was like, boxed wine, horrible. Good wine, amazing. So it wasn't until I moved to Richmond, Virginia, that I started a wine club. And it was a blind wine club called the Cork Club. And I would get people together at a club I belonged to, and you bring a bottle of wine less than $30.
Okay.
We would put it in a bag to cover it up,
Mm-hmm.
and then we would do blind tastings, and we'd score it on a scale of 0 to 10. 10
Mm-hmm.
is the best wine you ever tasted,
Right.
and 0, you're not invited back. Just saying. And we would just go through it. And it was amazing. There was bottles of wine that were $8 that would win, and $25 that would win. And there was no really just what you like. And that's the thing with a lot of times I thought back in the day, you have to swirl it and sniff it and push it. Whereas I just showed you can just have fun just by tasting it. And by that, I found my favorite wines from, like I said, $8 upwards to $25. And so that was my obsession with wine over time.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. So then are you mainly a red wine drinker, or do you enjoy red and whites?
I do more red than white, but I like them both. So back in the day when I wasn't trying to, to keep my figure, I would start off with a glass of white wine with some cheese before dinner, and then I probably have some time Italian dish with red wine, but that's a lot of calories. So depending on what the food is that we're eating, I just like white wine with certain foods and red wines with everything else.
Okay. And did you say what kind of restaurant was it that your dad had, that your family
My parents had, it was almost like a diner. It was 6 booths, and then there was like 20 stools at a countertop, and we just, small town, everybody knew your name, and, from meatloaf to pot roast to pigs in the blanket to hamburgers and hot dogs.
That's awesome. And wine.
And no wine.
Oh, no wine. Oh, okay.
None of that place, no.
Okay.
It wasn't until the Italian restaurant when I was
the Italian restaurant.
Okay. Force,
Okay. Sorry. I lost that part. And so, but then you said, so then the cheese, is that like an obsession that kind of came out of this then? Like, do you know your cheese as well now?
I don't know. I still don't know why. I mean, I know what I like with wine. Like, people think because I talk about wine so much because I'm obsessed with it. I just know what I like to drink. Like, Chateau Ste. Michelle is my favorite vineyard out of Seattle, Washington. I just like how smooth the wines are. But I over time, people would teach you how to pair wine with cheese. And it's just an amazing experience. Probably like with tea, you have different teas, you have different experiences.
Right.
I remember I was in Healdsburg, California, visiting, going out there on business and fun. Healdsburg, California, and we went to this tasting room, and it was La Crema, and they're the only place in town that had a cheese plate. I was like, I'm here for a cheese tasting. She's like, you want a wine tasting? I'm like, I want a cheese tasting. I want cheese.
Yeah.
So we went back in the room, and they started pairing up cheeses with wine. There's some soft cheeses to hard cheeses. It was amazing. Yeah. And that's when I fell in love with that concept.
Oh, that's awesome. So, okay, so what cheese goes with what wine, basically.
I still don't know.
You still don't know. Oh, okay. But when people pair it up for you.
Yes, yes, exactly.
That's awesome. So then, okay, so I know some of the answer to this, but tell me a little bit about like let's see, what was it, the question that people have asked before? It's like, if money and time and like all that like was not a thing, like what's your dream place that you would like live, or like what would you be doing? So
I would want to go to Italy and Argentina to start.
Okay.
So Italy, I hear that their table wine is amazing.
Really?
And so I just want to go to Italy to sit at a cafe, literally having wine and cheese. And if I see the sights, I see the sights, but that's it. I just want to go and do the wine tasting and the cheese tasting there. I was in New York City and I came across Little Italy, and there's this big cheese shop. It was just like in awe. And then in Seattle, Washington, I do the same thing. I'd like to seek out cheese shops, even though I don't necessarily buy them all the time. I just like staring at them. So Italy would be the first place, and then Argentina would be the second place. I was in a South Beach Wine Festival years ago with a friend of mine, I would say 13 years ago, and big old tents, and you were just trying wines and cheeses, and it was amazing. And they were featuring Argentinian wines that year. And I hear Mendoza is amazing for wine. And so I'm probably going to stay there a week if I can. If I had money, then I'm probably a month, 3 months, who knows?
Yeah. That's really cool. And then would you, so I believe your answer to this or your idea on this has changed before, but for a while you said you wanted to own a vineyard, right?
Yes.
Yes. Do you still want that?
No.
No. Okay. So what was the thinking behind wanting to own a vineyard? Like what led you to thinking you wanted
I
that?
like wine. Hello, So yeah, so I wanted to. You're right. Years ago, I wanted to own the vineyard, and I was in one of my life goal classes, and one of the participants said, "So why do you want to own the vineyard?" I'm like, "I like wine." Like, but you know how hard it is to own a vineyard? I'm like, "Ooh, no, okay." So I want a house on the vineyard, and they're like, "Well, why do you want to do that?" I'm like, "Really? You're gonna? I mean, wine." And the real reason is in Virginia, there's a small town called Sperryville, and it's near a lot of vineyards. And I wanted to own a house there so that my friends can come out, stay over. We go to the vineyards, come back. And when I really think about it, it wasn't the vineyard, it wasn't the house on the vineyard. It was really just enjoying food with friends. So when this COVID gets over, I already have planned out a wine tasting, bringing a bottle of wine, bringing an appetizer, having friends over.
Yeah.
You're more than welcome to come.
Thank
You
you.
don't need to know anything about wine, and it's just enjoy friends and food is what I love more than anything.
Right. So yeah, so you don't have to live on a vineyard to create that experience.
Exactly.
I love it. That's great. That's I like how they pushed you to say like, but why? Because a vineyard sounds like a lot of work, or you have to at least staff it with like the people who know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So when really all you want to do is just host people over.
And all the money I saved now, I can just buy more wine and cheese.
Well, exactly. Yeah, no kidding. yeah. Yeah, I'm assuming buying a vineyard or living on a vineyard is not cheap. so, so do you? I guess have you made a lot of like new friends in this world, or have you like brought your friends into this world with you?
Good question. So I think I bring more of my friends into it because again, when I first started out, I knew nothing about wine, and when I created the Cork Club, it was a way to explore wine with friends and not by myself. So, and I tell people it's not about sniffing and swirling. It's really about you either like the wine or you don't like the wine. People say what's better, $100 bottle or a $50 bottle or a $25 bottle. It comes back to taste. Really, it comes back to the winemaker. I found I didn't realize this till years ago was winemakers. They actually determine the taste of the wine, through chemistry, through how they mix things around. And so when you find a vineyard that or a winery that you like, talk to the winemaker and ask that winemaker what wineries do they like, because it's probably going to be similar taste.
Oh, okay.
So, if I find that, I like Quantum Leap here in Orlando, wonderful winery. They actually bring their grapes around the country here to Orlando, and they make their wines. They taste like wines around the country. I mean, they have 15, 20 different wines that taste like California, Oregon, North Carolina, Virginia. They just, I don't know how they do it, but it's amazing. But you find what you like and you stick with it. And so I just try to invite my friends to come with me and try it out. And again, it's not supposed to be snobbish, it's just to be fun.
Right. That sounds fun. I do like wine. I will say that I probably don't get to like experience it as much. So as you know, most people know, I'm divorced, but my mother-in-law, though, she got very into wine in the last, I don't know, 20 years or so probably. And so she would, basically show, let me taste like what good wine is. And I always appreciated that. I always thought that was fun. So now I'm back to just on my own picking whatever. And for the most part, I'm a white wine person. Like there's Pinot Noirs that I can handle. But like as far as other reds go, I usually don't. I feel like I always say they make me too thirsty. They're like too dry or something. And I don't like sweet whites though, but I like that. I guess they're usually more chilled is what I figure. And I like bubbles. So any like bubbling white wine, champagne, any of that.
Have you had Prosecco?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. But so, okay, so one of my wild card questions for you is, do you have any like ghost or alien stories? Any like supernatural, like spooky things that have happened to you before? Or
Ghost to
any-
alien. I would say spiritual
yeah.
from a higher power.
Mm-hmm.
I have many of those, so I don't think that's UFO, but I have
Right.
spirit. I remember driving one day to Northern Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
and the spirit said, "Get off this exit," and I'm like, "Yeah, making good time." It's like I just felt get off this exit. I'm
Yeah.
like, "Well, I'm hungry, but I'm gonna make good time. Get off this exit." I'm like, "Okay," I get off this
Yeah. Yeah.
exit, and I think there was an accident up ahead that I missed out on. Interesting enough, I was driving on my mini spare tire, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that if I would have kept on going, I may have been in that accident.
Oh wow.
So I was
Yeah.
just sitting there, and something just said, just listening to the
Just
news, and it
leave.
was like accident. I was like, oh wow. And so I have a lot of those happen from time to time. And so
Mm-hmm.
ever since that day, if I have a prompting, I like, okay, I'm gonna go do that. I'm gonna go. I don't know why. I'm gonna not do this or do that.
Right. Right. Well, that's really interesting. Then that's still good. That's still fun. um, so I can hear Piper is up from her nap, unfortunately. So I'll have to cut this short. But I apologize.
No
Um,
worries.
but I will ask you. My last question is always: do you have any final words?
Well, just thank you for doing this. I was watching the other episodes, and while you're trying to just bring us some joy in the world, getting to meet new people, and I just want to thank you for doing that. Thank you for what
Right.
you do. I know how passionate you're about tea and
Yes.
putting on events so people experience. You and I have hung out several times, and your
Right.
passion for European culture and people
Mm-hmm.
understanding the tea experience, because what really touched me is that you just want people to get together to really enjoy each other's company. And
Right.
you do it over tea, or you can do it over wine, you can do it over
Exactly.
coffee.
Yeah, we're very similar. Yeah.
And I love that. I love that bringing people together is now virtually. So I just want to thank
Right.
you for what you do. So
Oh wow. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I have thoroughly enjoyed starting up this virtual tea time thing and having people on, and yeah, just being able to, if you're a business person or I know you through business, great. We'll talk about your business for a little bit, but then it's like, let's just have like some fun talking about other stuff that, you know, makes you a little more human. Like, not that business people aren't human, but people can relate a little bit more, and hopefully just bring some yeah, some non-coronavirus content that's and that I'm borrowing from the podcast Science Versus. So they have been doing usually they do regular topics, trending topics of like, oh, I don't know, but like looking at global warming or different things like that. But ever since COVID has been happening, basically every week it's a new update on like looking into the science of coronavirus. But then at the end of it, they always have a little bit of non-coronavirus content, and they call it NCVC for short. So, so that's kind of where I'm at. Is like, yeah, everyone else is creating plenty of coronavirus content, and I'm trying to break it up. So
that's awesome.
thank you. But so thank you so much, Jim, for being on. I really appreciate it.
You're
And
very welcome.
thank you everyone for watching live, and thank you everyone who watches into infinity because it's going up on YouTube. So you'll be immortalized. And then I have to go get to Piper because she's whining for me. But thank you so much, Jim. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Cheers.
Bye. Oh yes, yeah. Wait, where'd my mug go? I used to put it on my other table. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.